Hey, it's Chris Byer.
Hey, it's Chris Bowling.
We are CB squared.
Yes, we are.
Still CB squared. Hey, Chris. I I was thinking about it. We're halfway through the year. We're now almost through the month of July, but halfway through 2021, we've been putting out videos every week. We've embarked on this journey of sharing what it means to be CB squared, who we are, our background, what we get to do every day with clients. But Chris, we've talked a lot about high performing healthcare plans and levers that we're helping the CEO, CFO, and HR director pull. And I think there's been a lot of those questions come back from employers of, okay, you've talked about this in a video, you've shared some, specific details of what you've done for clients, but what does it actually mean to engage CB squared? And I'd like to say, what do we do, or how do we do our best work to help an employer evaluate high performance and what they can do better?
I'm excited about this series. I actually talked to a company here locally that had listened to us and implemented a direct contracting arrangement that is so ineffective. It was a complete waste of their time. And that process really sparked a conversation between us, which is, how do we better understand as an organization, to understand how do we move that needle? Because you've talked about all these different things, communication, pharmacy. Next week is a perfect example. We've got a local university that's hemorrhaging in pharmacy. And so many times we hear consultants getting hired because they have this one problem, and they hire that consultant to solve that one problem. And then they realize
forget about everything else and nothing else gets improved.
And nothing else gets improved. And
that's so true.
So really what we want to do through this series, and it's either going to be a 3-part or 4-part series, we're still working through that, is what does our journey look like when we have a employer call us and say, I've heard what you're doing. I'm not sure if you're the right fit or not, but we like what you're talking about.
Yes.
So that's what I'm excited to really, have this series about is, there's no big sale pitch at the end. It's what does our journey look like to better understand, because we're really evaluating them as much as they are evaluating us. There's nothing more than I dislike is to add a client that then I don't want to work with because we're just not on the same page. So this is a journey that helps both of us understand, can we, number one, be impactful?
Yes.
Are you the right employer for us? Do you have a culture that we can understand, that we can implement some of these things? Because your culture will really dictate what we can and cannot do. Are you a municipality with 7 unions? Well, then we know that some things we can do and some things we can't, because your union agreements say that you can't do this. So
or flip that. Are you a multi-location employer that has different geographic constraints, and we can't do one thing for every location? It has to be individualized just because of the nature of the company or where they reside or their specific market. That it's really understanding who they are, like you said, culture, and then what they want to accomplish. And step one in that journey that we'll talk about is the introduction meeting. We've had the luxury of doing most of those remotely because of COVID. And it's, 20, 25 minutes at the most when we first meet with an employer, whether that's CFO, HR director, or CEO. And we'll talk about what that looks like in that 20 to 25, maybe 30-minute conversation of understanding who they are and helping both of us gauge is there a fit to go to next step. Right. And that second step, Chris, what do we do in that second step? It just, we'll talk through that in more detail when we talk about that discovery meeting.
Yeah, I think it's the most impactful part of our process, because what you and I hear is, because we always ask the question, how many times do all of you get together? CFO, CEO, sometimes HR director,
operations,
director. How many times do you truly get together and think about benefits, think about the strategy of the company to continue to offer the best benefits you can at the most effective price.
And it's usually they're getting together in a crisis.
Right.
You know, we have to get together because something catastrophic happened within the company, or they're getting together for a strategic plan for the organization, but this topic never comes up. It's left to one person or maybe two people, and no one ever hears, what does that mean to you? And how does that impact you in your role? And what if we understood each other in this area that's so important and such a large expense to the company, the benefit program?
Yeah. And, there are 15 topics we go through. And I think only one of them is insurance.
Yeah, that's true. There's so many things beyond that.
There's so many things beyond that. And then, Chris, really explain what that last step looks like.
Yeah, then, we hear that employer, we hear from those perspectives, and then you and I really go to work and take what we've heard and we craft a unique strategy. We call it a blueprint, but that blueprint is identifying what's working well that we want to continue to support. What did we hear that's an obstacle that's preventing that organization from being high performing? And then what are those tools or those levers we're going to deploy to help them get there? And we certainly take advantage of the Assured Partners toolbox. I mean, we have some of the best resources in the industry for an employer, but they're only good if they're needed. Right. And that is the key of delivering that blueprint. Is it's time bound with exactly what we're going to do and when and who's responsible. And then we lay that out in front of the employer and say, did we get it right? And if so, is this the path that's going to help you be higher performing? And then we're going to talk about the final part of this series is really what happens after we deliver the blueprint, the dreaded close. How does Chris and CB2 come in and hard sell us? Now, we don't do that. This is yours. If you're ready to engage us, here's what that looks like. Here's how we are hired. Here's what it means to be onboarded with our team. And here's how you have that conversation when it's maybe time to make a change with that current consultant or advisor. But it's a journey that we want to go down with that employer, because at the end of the day, Chris, you said it, if they don't like to work with us and we don't like to work with them, it's pointless. We might as well just walk away and say thank you, but it's not the right fit.
Yeah, and I will add one thing to that, which is you and I have been hired and they retain their current consultant because there's a trusted relationship there.
Yep.
They're just not getting some of the more advanced strategies that we are really working through. So there is that too. I mean, there's no point of this that says, well, you have to fire who you're working with.
Right.
It's,
right.
You have to make that decision. But no, I'm excited about recording this because I think you'll get a deeper understanding of how we work and why this makes so much more sense than a stupid RFP where everyone's throwing stuff on a wall. Here's my big toolbox, so hire me. What does that mean? I mean, how do you know that that's what you need? And how many times do we hear organizations purchase something that within a year they're no longer using because it was not effective?
Absolutely. So we're going to work through this journey again, what it means to work with CB2, how it looks to engage us from an introduction to discovery, to crafting and delivering your blueprints, to figuring out how we actually work together more formally. So we'll work through that and look forward to sharing more. Thanks so much.
See ya.